A few years ago, as I was preparing to do my final presentation for my master's degree program, I chose a project that became more significant than I could ever imagine. The topic of my master's thesis was on the civil rights movement, and in order to understand how I fit into this picture, I decided to interview my parents, Ernest and Dorothy Adams. They were both born near the end of World War II and were raised in Tallahassee, Florida, where I was born also. Although Tallahassee is the state capital, it is not similar to some of the larger, more cosmopolitan cities in the state. Tallahassee is a college town with a good mix of cultures. What makes the city unique is the blending of old Southern culture with the vitality that youthful college students bring. The interviews with my parents helped me to understand the development of social change toward racism in the 60s.
Leaving Tallahassee in '63, things was pretty well segregated. Could not eat at lunch counters downtown, and there's certain places that had the dual water fountains, white only and colored only, and a lot of places we couldn't go to the front door. We had to go to the back door. Many of the doctors' offices were set up like dual entrances, one for white and one for color.
Growing up in Tallahassee wasn't a totally bad experience. Our parents taught us at an early age that we had a place.
We were, as John was saying, we were raised to try to be safe, and being safe meaning you did not engage the white masses. You did not engage them.
Daddy tells the story of when Mom had to go to the hospital one time, and he didn't have the money to get her in. And the lady that he was working for told him, I think it was anybody care. So the lady he worked for told him to put Mom in the hospital and don't worry about the bill. And she took care of the whole thing. She did my Mom's whole stay, and she said, Fred, you work and I'll take care of Julia's bill. And she did. So I just don't want to paint this big negative picture because it wasn't all bad. I mean, there were good people who really, truly were the ones that had to, because when we graduated from high school in '63, things were just beginning to open up to blacks.
And your high school was segregated.
Yeah,
Absolutely. We were, I think it went one more year segregated before it was integrated.
And yet, Brown versus Board of Education was 1954.
But you know that was
It was slow in coming.
Yeah, they were in Tallahassee. They had what they thought was the same old, separate but equal, and it wasn't.
No.
But I want to tell you this. We got a better education then than they were getting after integration.
Well,
We got a better education because the teachers cared about us. They cared about. I mean, they were our parents' friends.
And so you knew you had to.
Leaders of the protest movement. They didn't come to Tallahassee because it wasn't that that market wasn't there that they could get the masses riled up enough to make the kind of changes that they were advocating. However,
but we did make the changes.
Right.
We did it more in a smoother transition than most of the other places. And if I had to choose a place to be, I still would have chosen this place. It was a good place.
Despite the racial injustices that went on regularly in Tallahassee, my parents were able to carve out a good middle-class life for me and my two younger brothers. What I learned about Tallahassee is true for many smaller communities around the country during those times. The civil rights movement simply did not exist there as an aggressive force. Rather, it was a quiet and gentler movement that brought about a change through more subtle means. I respect my parents so much for the sacrifices they made at that time. While they weren't at the forefront of the movement, they lived lives indicative of the goals of the movement. They were truly pioneers. I realized growing up that the civil rights movement enabled me to attend integrated schools and have similar opportunities as my white peers. I could see the ghosts of the segregated South through the eyes of my parents and my grandparents. It didn't always mean that I was treated fairly, but I knew I had a greater chance for equality than my ancestors. I locate myself in the history of the civil rights movement as a grateful beneficiary.